Hey, let's talk about a couple of additional water quality tests. We're going to look at total dissolved solids and turbidity together. They're kind of related. You can see in the background information on total dissolved solids that there's two different forms that solids are found in a stream. They can either be dissolved, in other words, the particle size or the chemical nature, the electrical charge of it is such that it will dissolve in water, or they are large particles that will be suspended. More of a heterogeneous solution. So we're going to use the LabQuest for both of these tests. When you check out a LabQuest while you're out in the field and a probe, we're going to do the total dissolved solids first. You always want to plug the probe into channel number 1. Make sure it kind of clicks in there nicely. For the total dissolved solids, you can see where some sources of that is. We probably have often a high concentration of total dissolved solids if we are testing a body of water somewhere near a road in winter where there might be a lot of salt runoff. So what we're going to do to test total dissolved solids is use the conductivity probe. It's going to measure the amount of dissolved ionic substances in solution, or the amount of charged ion in solution. And the greater the amount of charged ion that's run off and is dissolved in the water, the more that water will conduct an electrical current. So the testing procedure for this is really easy. Notice that I have a switch on my probe that I want to set to the 0 to 2000. So make sure that's in the correct position. And then we're going to calibrate the conductivity probe, which is pretty straightforward as well. The idea of a calibration is that I'm going to tell the probe what is a 0 conductivity and what is a 500 conductivity, and it's going to lock in those values. And then when I test my water sample, it's going to be able to detect actually a voltage somewhere in that range between 0 and 500, and put that on that scale between 0 and 500. So the calibration is very simple. The probe for this one just goes directly in the water. There should be no conductivity in the air, so that should be 0. So notice that I choose calibrate from my menu screen. You can just go to the sensor menu. Should be pretty straightforward. Calibrate now, and then you're going to enter, do a 2-point calibration. Your first calibration point is 0. That's while the probe is just in the air. You wait till you get that reading to stabilize and hit keep. Then it's going to have a window pop up that asks you for your second calibration point. For this, we have a standard solution that's in the box where your probe is found. That is a 500 milligram per liter total dissolved solids. So I'm going to put my probe in there. Once the reading stabilizes, click 500, and then I'm okay to just go right to the river and put the conductivity probe in the river. The other test that's sort of related to total dissolved solids is turbidity. And turbidity is a measure of how turbid the water or how cloudy the water is. And this is going to happen when I have large particles, not just salts that can dissolve in solution, but large particles like sediment or soil that is going to run off, any type of solid particulate, trash from the road, all of those things that would increase the turbidity of the water sample. So this is the turbidity probe that you're going to use. Same thing, you're going to go ahead and plug that into your LabQuest into channel 1. We are going to do a 2-point calibration on this as well. So on your sensor menu, you will go to calibrate now, and there are 2 tubes that come with the turbidity sensor. One of them is completely sealed and you can't open, and it is a standard that has a value of 100 turbidity units. And then we have another cuvette that has a fill line on it that you can open up, and you can put samples in there. So obviously distilled water is going to be a turbidity of 0. So our first calibration point, you'll notice that there's a little arrow on here, and when I open the door of the sensor, there's a little arrow on there as well, where my sensor is going to line up. So for my first calibration point, I fill the cuvette with distilled water, wait till the reading stabilizes and select 0. For my second calibration point, I put my standard in, wait till the reading stabilizes, enter 100, and then I can just go and collect a river water sample, dump the distilled water out of here and collect a river water sample, put it in the cuvette, and it will give me an automatic reading. When you get your turbidity sample, you want to just kick up the sediment a little bit around where you are sampling the water, and it often doesn't hurt to sample a couple different places and get an average for that.